Hello and greetings from Taike, Arts Promotion Center Finland. My name is Henri Terho. I'm working as the head of art support in Taike. And in the following, I'm going to shortly introduce you the two ongoing calls for applications that we have at the moment. And the calls are one for regional grants and another one for artist grants. And let's start the session. So let's begin with the case of artist grants. The application period for artist grants has started from the beginning of March, and it will last until 3rd of April, meaning the Wednesday after Easter break. And please note immediately that the application period ends precisely at 4 p.m. on the date of the last date for applications. The decisions on artist grants will be made by the end of September. Artist grants is a system that is being defined through legislation, and there are definitions, for example, as to whom artist grants are intended. And artist grants are intended for professional artists of different fields of art, and they are also intended for art journalists. Artist grant periods are always starting from the beginning of next year, meaning that when the grants are now being applied for, the decisions are concerning the period that starts from the 1st of January 2025. The decisions are made by national arts councils, and the decisions are based on a presentation made by our special advisor working with the council. And in this chart, you can see the list of national arts councils where the decisions of artists' grants are being made. And you can see those councils on the top left-hand side of the chart, the blue ones. So we have separate national arts councils for architecture and design, one for audiovisual art, one for diversity in the arts, a council for literature, a council for music, a council for performing arts, and a council for visual arts. And these are all expert bodies that are working in the principles of peer reviewing, which means that fellow artists are making decisions based on your applications. In the same chart, you can also see on the right-hand side the list of regional arts councils that we have at the moment in Taike. And in the following phase of this presentation, I'm going to give you also some basics concerning the regional art grants that are now under that can be applied for at the moment. In the middle of the chart, you can see the Central Arts Council, which is the body that is nominating all of the arts councils that we have in our system, all 20 of those. And yes, let's proceed. Some details concerning artist grants. As said, artist grants are intended for professional artists, and we often are being asked, how do we define a professional in the field of arts? There are many answers for the question. One can be a professional artist due to his or her education, or one can be a professional artist through his or her career as an artist. So there is no particular demand, for example, of a particular education in order to be considered as a professional. One can also have a career and have examples of one's work, be those exhibitions or performances or published books or anything of the kind. And one can also kind of define oneself's status as being a professional through the excerpts and examples that one can prove. So no precisely definition of education is needed in order to be qualified as a professional artist in our system. And in unclear cases, it will be the council itself defining the status of an applicant, whether he or she qualifies as a professional or not. Artist grants are applied on the basis of working periods, not on the basis of, for example, euros or specific amounts of money. One can choose either the period of half a year, 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years, or one can also choose all of the options that you can see on the slide. An applicant can only be awarded a period, working grant period, according to one's choosing. So if you are choosing to apply for a 1-year grant, you cannot be awarded a shorter or a longer period. You can only be awarded the one that you have applied for. Artist grants are free of taxes, but you have to pay an obligatory insurance money, but the amount, monthly amount of an artist grant at the moment is just a little less than 2,200 euros. The amount of an artist grant varies dependent on the years. It will be checked based on the indexes of income, which means that in 2025 that is probably going to be a little higher than it is at the moment. So this amount is the exact amount of artist grant at the moment. 5-year artist grants can be also awarded in the form of an artist professor grant. There are only a very limited number of those grants available, and in this round there are only altogether 4 so-called professor grants available. And the field of arts that one can apply the professor grant this year are the ones mentioned in the slide. And here, as said just a while ago, even though the artist grant is tax-free, there is a demand that you have to pay an pension insurance from the grant that if you are receiving one, you have to take care of the pension payment. And that is stated in the law concerning artist grants. The amount of the pension payment depends on the artist's age. There are some variations concerning that, but on average it is around 15% of the overall sum of the grant that one is receiving. If one is getting an artist grant, it is obligatory in artist grants that are either for 1-year period or longer periods that you cannot have a full-time position to work simultaneously with the artist grant. So you have to be concentrating full-time on your artist actions and artistic work, because the artist grant is intended to guarantee and support your possibilities to concentrate on the working as an artist as such. But if you have a smaller grant for half a year or something like that, you can have simultaneously a full-time working position. But if you are having artist grant of the period of 1 year or longer, you can have some side jobs beside the artist grant. And more exact details can you see from this slide. Artist grants are not available to applicants that have previously awarded artist grants that are continuing in 2025. So you cannot have 2 artist grants on top of each other from Taike. In addition, you cannot be awarded an artist grant if you have a working grant from some other funding body apart from Taike that is lasting at least 6 months in the year 2025. Again, you cannot have 2 working grants on top of each others if the working grants are of more than 1 or of more than 6 months period. And in addition, if you have a supplementary state artist pension, you are not allowed to get an artist grant from Taike. Some basic figures of the amounts of artist grants that we award yearly. This year we are going to award in all the fields of art overall around 330 new artist grants. And we have quotas for different fields of art depending on the number of applicants, and that varies slightly on yearly basis. But here in this chart you can see the amount of money awarded as artist grants in fields of art last year. The biggest share goes to fine arts, and the overall sum last year was 1,787,000 euros, and that was equaling roughly 75 new artist grants that was awarded for fine arts artists last year. The next bar is for literature, and the ones in the following go for music, theatre, design, dance, interdisciplinary arts, photographic art, media art, cinema, comics and illustrations, circus arts, arts journalists, and the lowest bar in the chart is for architecture, meaning 3 artist grants were awarded for architecture last year. But you can get an overall idea from this chart of the differences between art forms. So the bigger the art form, the more the applicants, the more we can also award new artist grants. Additionally, during month of March, you can also apply for regional grants from Taike. And the application period is similar to the one that we saw in the case of artist grants. So the application period has started from the beginning of March, and it will end 3rd of April, again precisely at 4 p.m. The system, the electronic platform will be closing on that date, which means that you cannot provide us with an application after that time slot. Decisions of regional grants are being made by the end of June. And the same qualifications go for these grants as they were in the case of artist grants. So these grants are intended for professional artists and art journalists. A difference between the two forms of grant system is defined in the following. You can also apply a regional grant as a group of artists that are forming a working group. So rather, quite often we have, for example, theatre groups or dance groups or groups of musicians that can form groups that can apply money for the actions of the group as such. And this goes for all the fields of art. So you can have working groups in all the fields of art. Grant period for regional grants is extending until the end of year 2025. There are 2 kinds of mechanisms combined in regional grants. You can apply either for costs of projects, or you can apply for working period that is intended for the project that you are planning and you are going to fulfill. If you are applying for costs of projects, the costs can be eligible from the beginning of year 2024. So from this point on backwards, the costs can be also occurred already from the beginning of the year, and they can be qualified in your project plan. But if you're applying for working period, you cannot kind of start, that cannot be a retrospective funding. So a working period can start earliest from the 1st of July this year. As working periods in regional art grant system, you can apply for funding for maximum length of 6 months of working. The amount of working periods is defined through working months, and I'm going to shortly show you the kind of set of calculations that we are taking into account when you are defining the amount of money, amount of working periods that you are going to apply for. Grant decisions are made by regional arts councils, again, based on a presentation by our special advisor. And you saw in the beginning a chart of various councils that we have in our system. So regional grants can be applied for either working periods or to cover expenses. And you can only send us one application, which means that if your work is spreading to different regions, you have to choose what is the region that you are going to send the application for. So you can only provide us with one application. Grants can cover, for example, working periods, material expenses, production costs, travel expenses, etc. It can cover all kinds of costs. So now if you're considering whether to apply for an artist grant or a regional grant, you can note here a distinctive difference. So artist grant is intended for the working periods of an artist. That can be either half a year, 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year periods. But if you are applying for regional grants, you can also have expenses included in your application. And these are examples of the kinds of expenses that you can include in the application. Regional grants can be applied for one application only. Please be careful with that. So if you're applying as an individual, you can only send us one application. However, if you are a contact person of a working group, that same rule goes. So you have to choose either your personal application or an application where you are the contact person for the working group. You cannot have both. So you have to choose either one of the two options. And you can, as said, only apply from one region in this round of applications. And some details you can see of the situation also here in the slide. The minimum amount of money that you can apply with one application is 2,500 euros. So even though your costs and expenses would be less than 2,500 euros, please don't apply for a smaller sum of money, because that is not considered eligible in this round of applications. Basically, there's no maximum amount of money that you can apply for, but as said, the maximum working period that you can apply for is 6 months in regional grants. Individual artists can estimate the length of the working period and what it equals in euros using these examples. So in our kind of set of calculation, we estimate that 1 month's work equals 2,200 euros. So if you're applying for 4 months grant, that equals 8,800 euros in sum of money, etc. The 6 months working period equals 13,200 euros. And again, here in the regional grants, according to the law, you have to pay for the mandatory insurance fees if the working period is 4 months or longer. And if you are applying for working grant, you can also have expenses included in your application, which means that if you are applying for 6 months working period and having expenses on top of that, the total sum of money that you are applying for can exceed the amount that you can see here in the slide, meaning 13,200 euros. You can have expenses on top of that sum of money. If you're applying as a working group, you can apply money to grant. You can apply for grant to cover work and expenses, and the application must contain the names of the people working in the working group, and we are expecting you to provide us with a combined curriculum vitae of the members of the working group. The names and their curriculum vitae need to be included in the application. Regional grants are not awarded for vocational qualifications in the arts. We are making some kind of limitations concerning the status of one's work. So the grants are not intended to cover expenses related to, for example, studies or work that is related to making theses as part of one's studies. Grants are not awarded for amateurs or hobby-based projects. And in the case of literature, we have a special definition that the grants are not intended for non-fiction literature. And grant for artistic work is not awarded for an applicant that has another Taike grant in the year 2024, meaning other working grant. So if you have, for example, artist grant for this year, you are not qualified to get a regional grant on top of that. And again, as in the case of artist grants, if you have a supplementary state artist pension, you cannot be awarded a regional grant for working. You can have a regional grant for expenses, but not one for working. Here in the chart, you can see an overall setting, how the system of the number of applications and the positive decisions, what it looks like in our system. You should pay attention to the fact that these grants are heavily competed grants. And the overall success ratio that we have on a yearly basis in all of our forms of grants is around 20%, 15 or 20% of all the applications. So the success ratio varies rather a lot depending on fields of art, but the overall and average success ratio for an applicant is around 15%. In the case, the most tough the competition is in the fields of, for example, visual arts, where in certain forms of arts, less than 10% of applicants get a positive decision. Last year, we received the overall number, that's the bars on the columns on the right-hand side. We had little less than 17,000 applications in all, and the positive decision was given to 2,400 applicants. So here you can see the ratios that we have on a yearly basis. And some other figures concerning the number of applicants in a division concerning the forms of funding. The first row indicates the number of applications when it comes to artist grants. In the year 2022, which is the last year that we have proper statistics for, we had 3,590 applications, so that is the second column from the left-hand side, and the number of positive decisions was 308. So if you are applying for an artist grant, please be prepared for competition who is going to get a positive decision. Less than 10% of the applicants are getting a positive decision. The next row is concerning the project grants in art fields, which is a form of application that is not now available. That was a possibility to apply for funding in November, and that will be available also in the end of this year. And you can see Again, the second column from the left-hand side gives you a number of the overall number of applications, and the one on the right-hand side gives you the number for positive decisions. The next number is about our regional working grants, and then we have the row for regional project grants, and then the two latter rows are for two particular forms of working grants. The first is the display grants for visual arts artists, having the number of 80 as the positive decisions, and the final one is the so-called library grants for writers and translators, where we were able to award roughly 300 positive decisions last year. So again, this gives you an impression of the overall situation of the number of applications and what is the situation looking like in terms of positive decisions. Okay, but when you are sending us an application, this is a list of things that you should be including in your application. What are you supposed to attach along with the application? First of all, the mandatory attachments in your application. You need to provide us with a curriculum vitae. And if you are applying as a working group, you should have, as said, a combined CV for the members of the working group. Applicants who are working in the fields of visual arts, and you have the list of definitions that we use, what are the fields of art that is indicated in the form of visual arts. You are supposed to include excerpts of your work from 3 to 5 cases or excerpts. And basically those are images of your work, or if you are working in a field that you don't actually produce images, you should provide us with some similar kind of material of your working. And if you are sending us links to videos as attachments to your work, you should send us a link to a publishing platform, and also make sure that we have the proper passwords if those are secured by passwords. In addition, you can provide us with 2 further attachments that you consider as relevant to your application. And please note that all the attachments should be provided to us using the electronic platform of our online system. And I'm going to shortly show you how to log in to that system. When you are receiving a decision from us, here are some instructions that you should pay attention to. If you are getting a negative decision, you always have a right to make an appeal of the decision. And if you are getting a positive decision, there are some examples of things that you might be in need to do while using the grant. So if you have changes in the working group, please send us a note of that, and we might be in need to make a further decision on whether that is possible or not. If you are going to be awarded an artist grant, there are some specific cases where you can postpone the starting period of the working grant or the artist grant, but please note that that defines that there are very limited kinds of things that give you a possibility to postpone the start of the artist grants. Please again pay heed to the clarifications. All the awarded grants that we give follows with a requirement that you have to make a clarification of the use of the grant. And the form of the clarification depends on the nature of the grant that you are receiving. And if you are working as a working grant, please note that the contact person is responsible for the use of the grant also from the point of view of the members of the working group. And in addition, please note that all the positive decisions according to the legislation are being published in a service that you can see on the slideshow, tutkiavustuksia.fi. So those are public information. Here you can see the online login page to our service that you can use to send us an application. And now I have to again apologize. I have been forced to give the same apology for rather lengthy period, but the online system is available only in Finnish and in Swedish. And because of this, I'm going to shortly also give you some ideas, and I'm going to show you the forms that we are using, and I'm going to kind of online transfer you some of the basic headings that you can find from the online service so that you can better adapt yourself to the filling of the forms with kind of the keywords that I can give you here now online. But first of all, this is the page that you can find from our website, taike.fi, and on the top right-hand corner, you can see the be it magenta or purple button saying verkkoasiointi, rather clumsy word in Finnish, but that is the place that you can log into our online service. So the button on the top right-hand corner, that is where you can log in. And before I am going to switch on to showing you some screenshots of the online service itself, I'm going to give you these information, which might be the most important ones that you hear from my presentation. So our customer service is available through our website, and you can find the email address asiakaspalvelu@taike.fi from the screen. And they are very willing and ready to also serve you in English language, and they can guide you further if you have some problems with, for example, using our online services of having troubles finding the application calls or anything like that. But please note that if you have any considerations as for the use of, let's say again, online services, please be quick in taking contacts in our customer service, because the last dates of application periods are very, very crowded in all kinds of inquiries and questions concerning assistance. So you might have troubles in getting through in our customer services if you are late in, if you are trying to contact us near the closing of the application period. But now I'm going to change the slide setting, a short technical break here, which means that I'm going to, first of all, stop the screen share and logging into another one. And now I'm trying to find the correct one, which is now here. So now you remember the front page of our website, taike.fi, having the purplish button in your top right-hand corner. And if you are there logging into our online services, there you are going to enter something like this. And you are immediately entering Taike's own online service. And you can see here on the bottom of the page the calls that are now open. Alueiden apurahat means the regional grants, and the one below and in the bottom of the page, taiteilija apurahat, is equaling artist grants. So these are the links that you should use when you are entering our online services. And then in the following, you are entering the actual application form. Asiakkaan tiedot, the first page, in the application form is about your personal information. In the beginning, there are your ID number, first name, surname, etc. And you are supposed to check these from the first page of the application form. Here you can see the post address, etc. And the next one is for your email address and possible website address and phone number, and so on. The following page is, I forgot to mention you, but this is how it looks like when you are applying for an artist grant. There are some differences when you are entering the online form if you are applying for original grant. But a second page when you are applying for an artist grant is one that you are selecting your field of art, and you should select one field of art. And you can find a menu list where you should pick your choice. So we have 14 possibilities that you can choose, and each of the ones have separate quotas for artist grants, and each of the ones are being directed to the National Art Council where your case is being considered and evaluated. Next page in the application form is one where you are defining apurahakauden pituus. The first heading in the page is one that you are selecting the length of the working period that you are applying for. And the boxes, the ticking of the boxes, you are selecting either half a year, 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year period of artist grant. And you can, as said, choose all of those options, or you can select some of the options. That's upon your own situation. Työsuunnitelma and the box below, meaning that you should there give us a description of your working plan, and that should exceed for the whole length of the period that you are applying for. So if you are applying for a 5-year period, you should provide us with a 5-year working plan at least some accuracy. Of course, we know that it is not possible to be very accurate in a lengthy period, but as accurate as you can be. The form continues in the 4th page, and we are asking you questions concerning your previous artistic activities, aikaisempi taiteellinen toiminta in Finnish, and there are boxes that you should give us a description of your previous artistic activities. The box below is concerning your present day occupation and possible side occupations that you might have. And the one below is concerning the previous grants that you have been receiving. So we are asking a list of the previous grants from 3 years period before before this year. A list of grants from 3 previous years. The 5th page of the application form is concerning the attachments, liitteet. Ansioluettelo is equaling curriculum vitae in Finnish. And as said, this is an obligatory, mandatory attachment. You are supposed to give us your CV. And the second list of attachments, kuvaliitteet in Finnish, equals the examples if you are applying as a visual arts professional. And as said, you are supposed to provide us with images of your work from 3 to 5 examples. And this is the place where you're supposed to include the images in our system. And the 6th, another one yet, shows you part of the form where you can attach additional attachments, muut liitteet. And here you can download 2 additional attachments in the system. Internet linkit equals internet links. If you are sending us, for example, links to pages where you have your examples of moving image or something similar, you are supposed to give the link in this box. And finally, the last page, number 6, is saying Lähetä hakemus, which means that here now when clicking on the button Lähetä hakemus, you are sending the application to our system. The choice box is concerning whether you are giving us the right to send you the decision electronically. And please click on the box, the option Kyllä, which means that you are then receiving the decision immediately that it is being made in our system. And again, apologies from the agency's behalf that we have this system only in Finnish and in Swedish. And I know that some of the applicants that are not using either of the languages in our official system, they use Google translators trying to cope themselves within the system. And very practical hint is that if you are using Google Translator, please log in using the Swedish language options, because at the moment Google Translator is a bit more accurate when making translations from Swedish to English. But okay, this is my presentation for the ongoing course. In any further questions, please contact our customer services. Please note the exact deadlines of the application periods. So you should send your application in our system before 4 p.m. on 3rd of April. And it's always good to be ahead of time when making one's application, because the system is very burdened in the last minutes of the application period. But hope this was useful for your purposes, and looking for applications in all languages. Please note that we don't have any requirements, for example, as for the place of living or the place of birth of an applicant. You can be born anywhere. Your native tongue language might be anything. You can apply for funding from our system if you are working as a professional in Finland, if the purposes of your art kind of can be assessed within the Finnish system, no matter what is your own background or what is your nationality. You can also apply for funding, let's say if you have a status of a refugee artist or something like that. We don't need you to be permanently stationed in Finland or based in Finland. Please pay attention for the deadlines, and please contact our customer services for any further questions. Bye for now.